For the first time in over 25 years, it's time to introduce your Knoxville Smokies.
Go Smokies!
All right, Smokies fans, welcome back to the Smokies Baseball Network. We're coming back with another live pilot pregame show alongside Jimbo, James, Kohl, Schmelzer. I'm Connor Nelson, and we're here before game number 4, in between what could be the very end of this season and the final 3 series. So we've got the Barons and the Smokies, game 4 tonight, August 29th. Final matchup between these two in this season, and who knows, this could be a very pivotal series in determining the final playoff spot the team that's coming out of the Southern League North. So right now, we'll get into the standings a little bit later, but we'll set the scene for you. And as always, our Pilot pregame show sponsored by Pilot. And as a proud sponsor of the Knoxville Smokies, Pilot is out here to fuel your game day drive with gas, snacks, and more. Pilot, see you out here. So Jimbo, before we get into it all, how you doing? Happy to be on the Pilot pregame show once again?
Yeah, it's a grand old time here on the Pilot pregame show. It's always nice seeing your face. Nice hearing from the Smoky fans too. So
thank you, Jimbo. You know, one thing I miss when we're on the road, you know what that is, Jimbo? Doing it every day is the Daily Smoky. And you know,
I don't.
You don't miss that, Jimbo?
No, I really don't.
Maybe you don't know what we're talking about. If you haven't been to a Smokies game, there's Daily Smokies every day at Fan Assistance or in the team store. You can go check them out. Kind of a daily program, daily summer. I just think it's really quality time we spend together, Jimbo. So I'm sad we don't get that on the road, but happy to see your face on the Pilot pregame show. And we'll start it off with talking about our big brothers up north, some Cubs news. I know you got the report on the Chicago squad, so why don't we start right there?
Yeah, I'll start it off. Chicago Cubs, they lost a tough one last night, 4-3 against San Francisco Giants off a walk-off hit. They ended a unique streak of not being swept in any series of at least 3 games this season. They're currently on a 3-game losing streak. They're in Colorado right now to take on the Rockies. Tyone, he was placed on the IL with a left groin strain, and Javier Assad was recalled from AAA to take his spot. And the Brewers, can't forget about them because it's a still tightly contested race in the National League Central. So the Brewers, they fortunately lost 6-4 at home against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So taking a look at the Central standings right now, the Brewers still sit 6.5 up on the Chicago Cubs. Again, looking at it, there's a couple weeks left in the season. It's coming down the wire. The Chicago Cubs, they're sitting in the driver's seat right now for the wild card spot. So again, Milwaukee, they still have a shot to get within range to hopefully grab this National League Central. But for the Cubs, definitely in a spot to take control of a wild card and punch their ticket to the postseason.
Yeah, and crazy that Jameson Tyone is back on the IL. I know the Cubs were kind of banking on him being one of the mainstays in the rotation for the back half of the season. And last year, funny enough, he did have a rehab start with the then Tennessee Smokies. And I know Richie was kind of speculating when he saw this news that who knows, next series, if that groin strain is able to wear off for Tyone, who knows? He could be in Knoxville next season or next series when we're hosting Rocket City at Covenant Health Park, just, a state over from where the Cubbies play. So should be fun to see if we get a big league debut. We haven't got one all series long. Covenant Health Park, I'm sure, would show out for a major league Cubby. So let's go ahead and get into our series recap now, Jimbo. So for the listeners who haven't been tuning in to the beginning part of this series, coming into the series, Smokies kind of didn't have anything to lose. Down almost 10 games. Birmingham was kind of running away with the division. So the Smokies were basically, looking to play upset. And right now, they've kind of been playing a little bit of that role. In game 1, they took the W. It was a solid pitching performance, including a handful of shutout innings by the bullpen. In game 2, it was a flip of the script. Literally, game 1 was a 6-2 final Smokies win. Game 2 was the 6-2 final Barons win. So then you fast forward to Game 3 last night. It was looking like we were maybe due for a long night. It went into extra innings. Richie Giuliano was on the call, but he was texting me, Jimbo. He was like, man, I don't know if we're going to ever get out of this top of the 10th because the Smokies were laying it on Birmingham. They ended up winning it 7-3 in extras by scoring 5 runs in the 10th inning, all with the exclamation point from Pablo Aliendo hitting a home run. I believe it was his 11th of the season, so glad to see him still raking those home runs up. For a while, he was sitting around like 4 or 6, and then finally here in the last month or so, he's really turned it on, getting some more of those big flies tallied up, some more donations for our sponsorship that we'll talk about later. But now that the Smokies are up 2-1 in the series, Jimbo, where do they sit in the Southern League standings?
Yeah, so taking a look at the Southern League North as we're speaking right now, Knoxville, they still remain 9.5 out from the Barons. Again, it's pretty much looking like they're playing spoiler at this point. They did start out this series very hot. They won a game, they dropped the game, they rebounded last night with another win. Hopefully, they can continue this winning streak, I want to say, if they could form one. But yeah, they sit 9.5 back out. And then Rocket City, I mean, they've been dormant all season long, essentially. Then taking a look at the Southern League South, it's more of a competition down there because you got the Columbus Clingstones just 3 out, along with Pensacola. They are also 3 out. Biloxi, they're sitting in dead last, just watching it play all out. They already secured their spot in the first half. But Montgomery, they've been on a tear. Obviously, we saw last week they won 5 out of 6 against the Smokies. They've won 9 of their last 10 games, and they're sitting right now in the driver's seat, hoping to hang on here and punch their ticket to the postseason.
Yeah, Columbus playing some pretty good baseball as well. They've won 6 of their last 10. They haven't been able to really get hot and create a streak, kind of like the Smokies, the same way they've been just sitting right around 500 almost all season long. And Columbus, here in the Southern League, that might get you into the playoffs, and they're still fighting 3 games out with just a couple series to go. So let's go ahead and get into tonight's action, Jimbo. Let's go ahead and talk about our starting pitchers first. So I'll go ahead and give it to you first. I know you got the report on Grant Kipp, the Smoky starter, taking the mound for game number 4.
Yeah, the 25-year-old, originally from Dallas, Texas. He's 6-6 with a 3.9 ERA this season. We nicknamed him the Rain Man because every time that he was pitching, it would rain, especially at Covenant Health Park. But the dude has been somewhat of an innings eater, surprising enough, from all that rain that was taking place. He pitched 45 and a third innings so far in all away games this season. He started 12 total games. And on top of that, in the month of August, he's actually tied with Tyler Schlaper and Walker Powell in games started here in the month of August with now his 4th start. He's pitched 14 and a third innings this season, and he's holding Birmingham Barons to 15 total bags on the season. However, he has allowed a 3.13 average by the Barons, so the offense is hot when Kipp is on the mound for the Barons. However, hopefully he can look to take the script here, change it around, and pitch well here tonight and get the Smokies a nice win.
Yeah, it's been an interesting story for Grant Kipp this season. Really good first half. It even got him a spot on the top 30 prospect list for the Cubs after being a non-drafted free agent. I mean, he was about to go spend his grad season at Notre Dame playing another year of ball until the Cubbies called him up and said, hey, we're going to give you a shot. So Kipp has really proved to everybody this season that, hey, he's good enough to be here. The problem is the second half has really fallen off for him. If you look at the month of July, he hit 6 batters in 5 games. And that was kind of alarming because we haven't seen him do that before. He's been relatively, had really good command the entire season. So that was a bit concerning. Also 11 walks in those 5 games. And now in the month of August, he's got an ERA close to 7. He's walked 10 batters in 14 innings. So the command is going to be key for Grant Kipp and having a good start tonight. He's got 6 pitches. You don't need all of them to be on the table at the same time, Jimbo, but if at least 2 or 3 of them are working well and in the zone, hopefully Grant Kipp can put together a solid outing tonight. And his last outing, it's also worth noting that he was coming out of the bullpen. That was when Jackson Wiggins was making his return to the mound. So Kipp actually got bounced out of the rotation into the back half of the bullpen, kind of as your innings eater, like you were talking about earlier. So now back in the starting rotation, hopefully he can get a little bit more of that rhythm going in the right direction. And then his counterpart tonight, it's going to be a top prospect as well, Tanner McDougal, originally from Henderson, Nevada. This guy was drafted right out of high school. He's only 22 years old right now, stands 6'5", 185. And I don't know about that, Jimbo. I think that weight might be a little inaccurate. He's gotten a little bulkier, maybe a little chunkier. I'm not going to, really try to put the guy down because he has been dominating, especially here in the Southern League. He started the season in high A, made 13 starts, struck a lot of guys out to give you the long story short. And then here at the Southern League level, he has been even better. 3-1 record, a 2.27 ERA across 12 starts, and he has been lights out against the Smokies. He's a top prospect. He's actually number 7 on the White Sox list. They paid him $850 back in the 5th round in 2021, and he even had Tommy John surgery right after being drafted and has come back and has been a really solid prospect for these White Sox. And like I've been saying, the Smokies haven't found an answer to him yet. It's a high 90s to 100-mile-an-hour fastball with a couple of good breaking balls, and high-velocity fastballs in the zone have really given the Smokies some fits this season. So they're going to have to get on that fastball and hopefully get some runs early, knock McDougal out, because they've been hitting pretty well against the Barons bullpen so far in this series. Let's go ahead and get into
I was going to mention really quick on a side note, that McDougal's faced 51 Smokies batters and it held them to a 261 average. So they don't hit a lot of long balls here either with them. Just one home run by the Smokies offense this season against McDougal. So it's something to take note. Hopefully they can spark something against this nice pitcher that the Birmingham Barons have here in the system. So
yeah, it's pretty much impossible to get the home run ball out no matter where the Birmingham Barons or the Smokies are playing. The two hardest parks in all of minor league baseball to get the ball out of the yard. So let's go ahead and get into our lineups to see which guys are going to be at least attempting to get the ball out of the yard, Jimbo. So I'll go ahead and throw it to you first. How is Lance Reimel aligning the 1 through 9 for the Smokies tonight?
yeah, so Reimel's going to keep it pretty much the same from game 1 when I reported. Jefferson Rojas is going to lead off at shortstop. Batting second is going to be the center fielder, Brett Bateman. Batting third, it's going to be the second baseman, Pedro Ramirez. Batting cleanup, the third baseman, once again, B.J. Murray Jr. Batting fifth, it's going to be Pablo Aliendo at first base. The designated hitter tonight, batting sixth, is Andy Garriola. Ethan Hearn, we saw his spark last week with a couple long balls at Covenant Health Park. He'll do the catching, batting seventh. Batting eighth, it's going to be the left fielder, Carter Trice. And then topping it all off here at the bottom of the order in right field, it's going to be Jalen Palmer, the speedy outfielder. And then all behind Grant Kipp.
All right, I'm liking it. And then on the other side for the Barons, they've got a little bit of a shaken up lineup from what we've seen from the beginning of the series. But leading it off, going to be the shortstop, William Bergoya, currently the Southern League hits leader. In the 2 spot, Sam Antonacci, who's moving over to shortstop tonight. He's been playing second base up in the 2-hole yet again. Braden Montgomery, the number 1 overall prospect for the White Sox, will DH tonight after playing center field a lot in this series and move up to the 3 spot. We've seen him hitting 5th. Wilfred Veras out of the DH spot into right field, again cleaning up. Caden Connor, the left-handed batting first baseman, in the 5 spot. DJ Gladney, the left fielder, batting 6th. Jacob Burke getting his first action of the series in the 7th spot, playing center field. Jorge Corona behind the dish yet again, batting 8th. And then Jason Matthews rounding out the lineup in the 9th spot, playing third base behind top prospect Tanner McDougal. And then fans, can't forget to remind you that this season Pioneer Comfort and your Knoxville Smokies are teaming up to hit home runs for heroes. So for every home run hit by a Smokies player this season, Pioneer Comfort will donate $100 to the Wounded Warrior Project. And to date, $6,600 have been raised between the Smokies and Pioneer Comfort, going to the Wounded Warrior Project, a great cause and a great way to rack up those donations. Jimbo, do you have a most memorable donation that you've seen either at Covenant Health Park or on a stream watching an away game, that most memorable home run from 2025 as we're winding down?
It's got to be for me, B.J. Murray hitting the first at Covenant Health Park. I think that one really started it off for this Pioneer Comfort especially. But he had a great long ball to left. So I would definitely say B.J. Murray for me. He also is our Pioneer Comfort leader with 18 long balls on the season. So
that's right. Still up at the top of the Southern League, tied with Brock Wilkin in a tight race for the home run leaderboard at the end of the Southern League season. And Jimbo, for me, it's going to have to be Pedro Ramirez's walk-off that went so deep into the Modelo watering hole that in order to see it from our booth back at Covenant Health Park, you would have actually had to be halfway out the window because he roped it so far down the line. Absolute nuke. Great pimp job. just doesn't get much better than that from Pedro Ramirez. So let's go ahead and get into our final segment here on our Pilot pregame show. Jimbo, our players to watch. So who are you keeping your eye on tonight? Who you think is going to have a really nice game number 4?
Well, I'm going to talk about the second donator of Pioneer Comfort here, and that is going to be Pablo Aliendo. The catcher, he has 11 long balls on the season. It is second on the team right now, the 24-year-old from Venezuela. He's been doing 2 long balls on the season, or this series, and then on away games, he has 157 at bats. So Lance Remmel really throwing him in the lineup. 32 RBIs. I would say for me, Pablo Aliendo, he's a great guy, great player to watch. I can't tell you nothing more about him. He is a gritty catcher, and he's always putting his heart out on that field each and every day.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about Pablo Aliendo's game is that you can never really get too comfortable if you're on the bases, because Pablo Aliendo will not hesitate to let it loose no matter where you're at second, third, or first. He's viable to backpick you at any moment. But the guy I'm keeping my eye on tonight, Jimbo, he's actually going to be out in the outfield, so pretty far away from Pablo Aliendo. We're talking about the left fielder, Carter Trice. And for Carter, we haven't seen him in the lineup a whole lot since getting the call up to Double-A just a month ago. He's been here for a while now, celebrated his 23rd birthday. He's hit his first Double-A home run. It was an absolute nuke down the left field line back at Covenant Health Park last week. And that's what I'm expecting more of from him. He's really good against left-handed pitching, so I'm going to be keeping my eye on him as the at-bats get later in the game because there is a righty on the mound for the Barons. But Trice is going to have to figure it out against these righties, and when he faces those lefties, he's going to have to keep dominating. So be on the lookout for Carter Trice late in the game when he could match up against a left-handed reliever, because right now, Lance Reimel's got him in between Ethan Hearn and then right close to the top of the lineup as well with Brett Bateman. So who knows? Could be a nice matchup for him to get an at-bat against a lefty. So, Jimbo, before we kind of close out our Pilot pregame show and send it over to the booth for Game 4, any final words for our radio listeners?
Yeah, for our radio listeners, once again, you get a treat here. Richie Giuliano back on the call this week after he was on assignment with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. And I know we had time joking with him down there, giving a little hard time for the first loss on his first call down there, but he's a great guy, and it's great to hear his voice. Again, this Barons offense against this Knoxville pitching, it should be a fun one here. So we're going to look to see a nice hard-hitting action. Hopefully the Smokies can get on the board first and never look back and get this win.
8 o'clock first pitch start if you're out in Knoxville. That's Eastern time, 7 o'clock Central time from Birmingham and Regents Field, Alabama, home of the Birmingham Barons. That's our spot, our venue for game number 4 between the Smokies and the Barons. Smokies still trying to play upset, and who knows, maybe tighten the gap a little bit closer so that Birmingham has the chance to slip up and the Smokies have a chance to sneak into those playoffs. So we'll have Game 4 action tonight here on 92.5, 1180 WKCE. So friends, if you're listening on the radio, stay tuned right here for first pitch coming up soon. It'll be Richie Giuliano and myself, Connor Nelson, along for the call and for the Smokies Baseball Network and our Pilot pregame show for Jimbo, James, Kohl, Schmelzer, and myself, Connor Nelson, signing out, and we'll see you next time.
Fans, for the first time in over 25 years, it's time to introduce your Knoxville Smokies.
Go Smokies! Woo!